People gotta find another way to resolve their differences than by kicking each other's asses. My opinion. This is coming from a couple things this weekend. One involving a friend of mine, and one that I just sort of witnessed in a parking lot in the city where I live. So I'm going to talk about the one in the parking lot. So I step out of the place where I am into this parking lot, into my car, and there's these three people walking the parking lot. There's a guy with his lady friend, and there's another dude behind them, who I will call belligerent shirtless man. Who's this dude in like total whatever style. I mean, clearly it's like the first thing belligerent people do when they want to get into a fight is for some reason take their shirt off. Uh, it's a thing. So BSM, belligerent shirtless man, is calling out this other guy basically, calling him all these names that basically come down to challenging this other dude's masculinity. It's all these people messed up terms this guy's tossing at this dude who's walking with his girl. And dude who's walking with his lady friend is basically trying to be cool about it, trying to walk away. But this other dude won't leave him alone. He just keeps following him down, following him down, following him down, yelling all this crap at him. And at a certain point, first dude snaps and comes after BSM, and they have it out. And I was looking at the whole situation, and basically there was nothing real at stake except an idea that the first guy had about himself, some idea of masculinity that he felt he had to defend by answering to the challenges of belligerent shirtless men. And it seems to me that that's a lot of what happens, is that it's really not anything real that's at stake when this violence comes out. It's just an idea, imposing an idea on somebody else through violence. It doesn't really work that way. You can't beat the idea that your way is right into somebody else. No, actually, now that I think about it, that happens all the time. Somebody just beats another person down until they basically give up. So there's a way in which violence kind of works, but there's got to be another way. There's got to be 1,000 other ways to resolve a difference in ideas than by beating yours into another person. Maybe a lot of it is about the need to be right, and this idea that there's only one right, and that if somebody else, that nobody else can be right too. That it's just one sort of monopoly on truth, and thinking that other possibilities threaten the veracity of that one truth. And a lot of people operate from that. Believe that if somebody else has an opposite thought to them, that somehow that's threatening what they know to be true. When really, it's just a different perspective on things. There are as many different worlds in the world as there are people in the world, because none of us sees the same thing that anybody else sees. So there can be a lot of different truths. There doesn't need to be just one. And when there's this thought that there needs to be just one truth, I think that's a lot where this violence comes in. If you can take away that right, needing for there to just be one right thing, and it opens up the door for different truths to exist side by side, which is a more sort of a peaceful situation where people don't have to prove that they're right. But for now, I'm interested in hearing alternatives to violence in terms of ways to resolve situations that have a tension and a difference of opinion, basically. Or even stories from y'all's life where you were able to do that, where a situation was tense and you were able somehow to de-escalate it, and how you were able to do that. I would love to hear those things. So please send those along and have a beautiful week.
Hi. I called first on this topic because this week I had a situation that could have resulted in violence, but I'm not a violent person, so it resulted in me sort of hanging my head and feeling very sad. I mean, all that happened was I was sitting on the street in Dublin, and my iPhone got stolen out of my hand, along with my headphones, by a group of like 5 young teenagers, and they ripped it away from me and then ran away laughing, and at no point did it cross my mind to lash out violently. The alternative to violence is sort of a tricky question. It's really dark out here, sorry. Dan posed the topic, the discussion of alternatives to violence, and I'm not really sure where to go with that, because alternatively, for me, I just accept what just happened. For example, belligerent man in the parking lot. If that had been me being harassed by someone drunk threatening my masculinity, I probably would have just been like, let me get out of this situation as fast as possible. Because when stuff like that happens, I don't get angry, I get sort of sad, because I don't want to have that, like, distrust in society. You know, I don't like to be put in dangerous situations, because then I feel like I'm in danger for the next week, no matter where I go. You know, it gives me anxiety. So being violent doesn't make any sense to me, and it never has. I've been in other situations, I mean, I've been hit before, but I've never gotten into a fight. When I got smacked in the face by someone years ago, I looked her in the face and I said, "Do you feel better now?" Of course, the answer was no, profanity. And then I've been in situations where I feel cornered and I have to push my way out of the situation. The bathroom, in that case, I was in a very closed space. So I mean, the closest thing that I have to answer this is, like, try to respond rather than react. You know, that's what I try to do in those situations, is I don't want to, like, freak out, because it just causes me pain, and I'm not going to feel better if I, like, beat the crap out of somebody. You know, you just have to, like, pause, you know, investigate exactly what's going on with that, like, feeling in the pit of your stomach or your chest or wherever your anger affects you. I do have friends that have violent histories where they say that feeling of anger that they get when something violent happens to them, if they don't react physically with violence, then it makes them nauseous and it makes them sick. But I mean, that's something that you know, anger management will teach you to sort of cope with in different ways. I don't know, I'm feeling a little cliche trying to say how I feel about this, but I've never had a reaction of violence. I've had a reaction of anger, but my immediate reaction to anger is to shut down, because I want to figure out what exactly is making me angry and how can I get through this and cope with it in a way that it's not going to come back or build resentment, because that will make me sick. So, Casper?
Hey everyone, it's Casper. So Dan and Emery have spoken about violence and non-violence in the physical sense. And yeah, I guess I want to talk about violence and non-violence in the emotional and psychological sense. I could talk about physical violence. I have experienced quite a bit of it, unfortunately, in my life, but it's not actually something I want to talk about today, and it's pretty heavy, and maybe there would be a better time or topic for that, like surviving abuse or, tactics for recovery. I think that non-violence in the emotional and psychological sense is caring about people and loving them. And love to me is a whole bunch of stuff. It's not just saying you love someone and then being abusive. It's not saying you love someone and then hurting them, lying to them, talking down at them. All of that sort of stuff is violent behavior to me. Violence in intimate partner relationships. I see emotional and psychological violence as trying to harm someone's emotions and mind and heart. You may not be hitting them, you may not be hurting them on the outside, but there are many, many ways to be violent, and most of them are done inside. We have a lot of abuse in the world. The point of war and of keeping people down is to abuse them, is to make them feel small and to make them feel powerless. Now, power is a whole nother thing altogether, but usually this is why violence happens, because someone is trying to take power. Love and violence, or love and abuse, cannot coexist. There is no excuse. Ever. There's no excuse to ever physically, emotionally, psychologically, or sexually hurt or abuse someone. If that is a feeling that is escalating inside you and you want to hurt someone, you need to seek help. You need to do the work. It is not someone else that is making you feel that way. That is you. You need to change the way that you relate to other people, which ultimately means you need to also change the way that you relate to yourself. So we need to speak up. We need to not be scared. And we need to walk away. That's my alternative. Walk away and speak up if you can. Violence can happen to us in any form that it takes. It can happen to us. But how we respond matters also. And I'm saying this as a survivor of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. I'm not just saying, oh, get over it, I'm saying how we respond really, really matters. You can get up and you can walk away from that situation and you can leave it behind. You are responsible for your life, and you are responsible for loving and caring for you. If you can't care for anyone else or anything else in the world, you have to be able to care for you. And you have to see when a situation is physically or sexually or emotionally, psychologically violent, therefore abusive and bad for you. I wish there wasn't the level of violence there is in the world. And where do we learn violence? From war happening every day, from TV, from oppression. We become desensitized and we think it's okay. I'm not saying I'm not gonna fuck some shit up, be a political activist, or do things that need to be done, but I'm saying I'm not gonna harm humans, non-human animals, the environment. I'm not going to actively try and hurt anyone. I'm interested to hear what other people have to say, and I hope that everyone is okay after watching this. Remember that if anything that has been said that you've heard makes you feel uncomfortable or triggered, please make sure you text or call a friend or have a cup of tea, have some downtime. It's so important to look after ourselves. Let's not desensitize ourselves to violence and to pain. It's okay to feel these things, and we need to feel like anger and grief to get through them, just not to each other. Alright, I hope that everyone has a really beautiful day. It's freezing cold and raining here in sunny Australia. I'll see you all next time. Okay, bye.
Let's go out back and plan a family